All right. So we have a special guest who just arrived. We are going to Amy Klobuchar. We are going to bring her to the table, and she's going to go to Biden and demand that he use his power to stop this pipeline. So that's what we're doing next. We are going to have a little bit more program, then we're going to march over to Amy's and have a program there, and then come back over here. And our next speaker is a woman on the front lines, not just of resisting this pipeline, but of building a better and brighter future for all of our people. She is an inspiration to so many of us, and we are so lucky to have her here. I want to invite up Winona LaDuke.
Thank you, Bigwitch. It's very good tailgating. Now we want the electric 150, right? Isn't that what we want? If we're going to drive around, we want to be electric. Hey, Ani Nindoe Maganato Kalon, my relatives, thank you so much for coming out. Thank you so much for loving our mother and loving our water, because she sure does need it now. We all do, right? And so it's time to stand up, and Amy, it's time for you to stand up too. You know, 95% of the people of Minnesota testified against this pipeline. We were all there. There's a lot of us from up north, and we didn't miss a beat. We went to every regulatory hearing. We went to every chance we were allowed to speak for our 2 minutes. We did it. You know, we showed up. We showed up, and the system failed us. And you know what? I don't feel like our water, our land should go to a Canadian multinational trying to make a buck at the end of the fossil fuel era. That's not right. That's not right. Stick with the home team, Amy. We're the home team. You know, look out there. We just saw that KXL is gone. What a relief that is, huh? That is a huge relief. And then just think about out there the Jordan Cove pipeline out west, some more Canadian oil. That was canceled too. You know, Atlantic Coast pipeline or the Constitution pipeline canceled. You know, we're down to just a couple of these dinosaur ideas, right? And that's what they are. They're ideas about moving dinosaurs, really, huh? It's just it's so last century, guys. You know, and we're all done. We're all done. You know, so I'm coming to you from the Shell City Campground on the Shell River. The Shell River's looks like 6 different Enbridge crossings. You know, that's kind of like rolling the dice, isn't it, for a river? It's not fair. I've been camping by the river on public lands because I'm a member of the public, but I'm also camping there because I'm Anishinaabe, and that's my territory. Ind a Kingamin, the very land to which we belong. Ind a Kingamin, a king, the land to which we belong. We should get you all to say that. A king, the land to which we belong. Tell you what, I'm a patriot to a land, not a flag. That's it, man. I'm gonna stand for this water and stand for this land. So I've been on this river for 2 weeks, you know, being outdoorsy and such as we are as water protectors. And you know what? I saw the river drop 8 inches in 2 days. It's dropping because not of Enbridge, it's dropping because of RDO Offit, the industrial potato farmer up north. Those irrigators are going 24/7. And so they're sucking water out of the deep water aquifers, and then right next to it, Enbridge wants to put a pipeline. I don't think the river's gonna do well in the driest year in history. Minnesota Department of Natural Resources gave away 630 million gallons of water to Enbridge, and we got a drought. I say, let's keep the water, take that back, pull those permits, DNR. You need to pull them permits, because the fish need the water more than Enbridge does. And so it is the wild rice. The wild rice has a right to that water, and our tribes are clear on that, but you know what, Minnesota's clear on that. We value our wild rice more than we do Canadian corporations, right? That's what we need, and what we want is some peace. Y'all just saw what happened up north. How many of you were up north this last week? Thank you so much, Miigwech. Thank you for coming up, and I'm saying Minnesota 2021, come for the water. Keep coming up north. Those are our rivers, you know? And they, they ask out. The Biden administration need to pay attention, and Amy, you need to send them a message. You need to be the woman that stands up for the water, Amy. That's what you need to do, because the Army Corps engineers should not go forward with this. Those permits should be pulled, and we need a federal environmental impact statement because there was never one done, Amy. I don't know if you missed that. We want an EIS, we want the permits pulled, and you know what? We want peace. You got to make the peace. We didn't bring the MRAP. We didn't bring the long-range acoustic device. We didn't bring the Homeland Security helicopter to kick up dust on people who are water protectors. We didn't arrest 170 people, Minnesota citizens, elders, young people. We didn't do that. Your team did. Enbridge team did. That's wrong. We're patriots. We're taking care of our water. So we're asking you, Amy, to intervene, and we want peace. We don't want all those military and all those unmarked security cards up there in northern Minnesota. That's not healthy for Minnesota. We just lived through these riots down here. We don't need any more. We want peace. We want peace, Amy, and you got to make the peace. The feds already intervened on the other side. Make some peace, Amy. And then last thing I want to say is, look, what we all want is a just transition. That's us. I actually came down here to pick up some of my CBD plants because, of course, I'm a hemp grower. I'm all ready for the new green revolution. How about you? So much more money in cannabis than in oil pipelines. And much more fun, right? Plus, we could all make canvas and cover all those boats over here that are covered with plastic. Let's just be cool, Minnesota. Let's have the new green revolution. Get some solar and kick the Canadians out. Largest energy consumer in Minnesota is Enbridge. I think it's about time that we cut the plug, About time. Hey, listen, stand up for the little people, Amy. And y'all see up north, there's 22 rivers that they want to cross with the high direction drill in the middle of July. They can't get to those rivers, but they're moving in on some other ones now. Camping is good. Be the public, Be the public because we are. Don't let them give away the water. The water needs to be for the clams, the little fish, the little guys and the mermaids. That's who needs the water. All right, Miigwech, thank you. Stay strong, and thank you all for coming out.
Hello, everyone. My name is Aisha Tuktai. I am a renter, union organizer, a firstborn daughter in a Muslim immigrant family, and I am a candidate for the Minneapolis City Council in Ward 10. I was born into a majority immigrant and refugee community in Southwest Houston, one where kids like me didn't get to experience what the land we lived on had to offer. We didn't have parks or yards or gardens to play in. But I remember the times when my family would make the trip out to Galveston Beach, right where the Mississippi River flows into the Gulf of Mexico. And I remember being on that beach filled with the wonder of the world that was around me. For many people who grew up like I did, experiencing the beauty that this land has to offer was the first time we ever felt abundance. Years later, I ended up in Minnesota, which is home to the headwater of the Mississippi River. And I'm no longer that little child dipping my feet into the water, but I still feel the urgency of this fight because I know that our actions up here affect every child like me who is learning about curiosity for the first time in their life at the banks of the Mississippi River. I stand with the water protectors up north and with all of you today fighting for one of our Earth's most precious resources. This week, nearly 2,000 people, many of them people who live right here in Minneapolis, gathered up north to rise up against the construction of Line 3. Even with the city still reeling from the extrajudicial murder of Winston Smith and the attempted clearing of George Floyd Square, we see our stake in protecting the environment and in fighting for the rights of the Indigenous peoples to determine for themselves what happens on this land. So from Palisade to Minneapolis, for racial justice and for the protection of our water, we know how to come together in solidarity with one another. And from Line 3 construction sites to George Floyd Square, we have seen the ways in which the state responds to our solidarity. They silence us, and they gaslight us, and they brutalize us because they are fearful for what we can accomplish together. The conservative forces in this city and in this state do not want us to believe in a better future, and they have aligned themselves and their resources to exhaust us and to destroy our movements. Their candidates and their elected officials who support this pipeline are the same people who are hurting us in this city. They tell us that we need the police and that Black lives are an acceptable sacrifice for their illusion of safety. They tell us that the corporations building Line 3 are following the rules as if the words of greedy executives and politicians will be enough to prevent oil from spilling into our rice fields and our groundwater. And they tell us that they have the right to satisfy their greed on a site that was never theirs, and they pretend that the land was never stolen. In the face of that, what can we do? We go back to the things we know, aligning ourselves and taking collective action like we are today. So we're here because we know that the survival of our people and our planet depends on us taking action together. And our solidarity in pursuit of a better world is so much stronger than the fear-mongering and the division of our opposition. And so I believe at the bottom of my heart that we will win. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for standing in solidarity with the Indigenous people, leading us in this fight to protect our land from corporate greed. It will take unbreakable solidarity to win this fight, and it will take each of us making the decision in spite of the fear that they throw at us to show up. So thank you for showing up. I hope you keep making that decision and keep hydrating, because we need to stay in this fight until we win.
Y'all believe we're gonna win? I can't hear you. Are we gonna win? A little bit louder.
Hello, good afternoon. Ooh, good afternoon, everybody. Let me move over here. So, my name is Marco Hernandez. I am the Public Policy Director at COPAL, Comunidades Organizando el Poder y Acción Latina, or Communities Organizing for Latino Power and Action. I am also an appointed member on the Governor's Advisory Council on Climate Change, and I'm here today to give y'all my 2 cents on Line 3. And it is my 2 cents, nothing for the Governor's Advisory Council, so don't include that. So when it comes to Line 3 in northern Minnesota, the pipeline would cross Leech Lake and the Fond du Lac reservations, breaking not just one, but multiple treaties. It would cross lakes and impact 389 acres of wild rice beds that are sacred to the Anishinaabe. In addition, not only is there research, but proven experience on the man camps and how it has brought the increase of drug trafficking, sex trafficking, and violent crime that disproportionately affect Indigenous women. The tar from the pipeline then go to refineries that are usually situated in communities of color or low socioeconomic communities. And so a little bit about that. Formerly redline areas, and speaking specifically for the Twin Cities, have an average of around 23% tree canopy cover compared with approximately 43% tree canopy cover in areas previously restricted to all white populations. Basically, there are less trees in frontline communities, and these factors create urban heat islands, concentrated pollution, poor air quality, that lower the life expectancies in these communities and increase health disparities. Indigenous and farm worker communities are being displaced locally, statewide, nationally, and abroad by this extractive economy. Vice President Harris told the people of Central America not to come to the United States a couple days ago, even though the main drivers of migration, the climate and economies of these areas, are 2 areas where the US and its corporations have meddled in since the Cold War and before that as well. Our government has ignored the horrible environmental decisions made in these countries abroad. And so in Minnesota, with Senator Klobuchar and Governor Walz are turning a blind eye to how Enbridge is an awful corporate partner to the Indigenous communities, and Enbridge has kept rural sheriffs on the payroll to split the treaty people gathering water protectors into many counties to cause confusions, just like Greenstone, a metal mining company in Latin America, does the same with military and police in Central America to water and earth protectors in those regions. So a real powerful woman named Berta Cáceres once warned us, "Let us wake up, humankind. We are out of time. We must shake our conscience free from the rapacious capitalism, racism, and patriarchy that will only assure our own self-destruction. The time is now that we need to respect human lives and Mother Earth. We need to deviate from the colonizer ideology that we can manipulate nature for our own bidding. We need to work in harmony. We need to work in harmony with the land and respect people's space, especially sacred land. We need to retain and restore cultures and traditions. The time is now to switch from an extractive capitalist economy to a regenerative economy, a world where ecological and social well-being is the norm rather than enclosure of wealth and power. A world where we advance racial justice and social equity, and where anti-blackness is no longer the foundation of our shared cultures across the world. The time is now to relocalize most productions and consumptions of goods, and we cannot continue the globalized economy because it is damaging the environment globally. Thank you so much. Stop line 3.
Buddy, how you feeling? All right. So, I'm Athena Hollins. I am the state representative for District 66B in St. Paul. Woo, St. Paul in the house. So I think you've already heard from some amazing speakers today, and you're gonna hear from even more. But what I really wanted to do today was ground all of us in the reasons why we're here. Because I think it's really important for us to remember why we're here, and it's so fundamental. It's something that's in your gut. It's not something that requires policy explanations or politics. This is something that we know internally is wrong. So I was born and raised in Hawaii. I'm not Hawaiian, but I was born and raised in Hawaii. And when you are local to Hawaii, you are called Kama'aina, which literally translates into the people, comma, of the land, Aina. So the connection for Native Hawaiians and for people in Hawaii to the land is so important, because we know that everything that we need comes from that land, from that little isolated island in the middle of the Pacific. And most important when it comes to taking care of the Aina is to malama Aina, which means to care for the land. And the way we care for it is a number of different ways. But most importantly, it's respecting it and trying to preserve it. And to malama the Aina is to not only malama, and that means care for, not only malama the soil and the dirt, but it is a connection to your ancestors and to future generations that are going to come later, who are going to live on that land and who have lived on that land. And that's why it's so crucial for us to stand up against Enbridge and say, it is time to stop line 3 immediately. This fight is not just about us. It's about our children and our children's children, and how fossil fuels cannot be the answer. We cannot continue to invest in obsolete technology that poisons our water and our land. This fight is about the ancestors of our Anishinaabe brothers and sisters, who were guaranteed by treaty to be able to fish and hunt and subsist off the land. And that right is being violated by line 3. Their ancestors wanted to protect the Aina because they knew that that's where the power comes from. It comes from the land. Our future and our past are linked. And it's in this moment right now that we must seize the opportunity to malama our Aina. That's why we continue to stand up for this. That's why a number of legislators went to Palisade to stand with Winona LaDuke and see firsthand the experience of the water protectors. And that's why we continue to fight this fight. It's out of our hands at the state legislature, but people in power in Congress can change that. We can make a difference, and our voices will be heard. Thank you for being here with us today.
Which side are you on? 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 It'll be a spontaneous thing.
I wonder if we're going to shut down the bridge like the Palestinians did. I'm not sure what the plan is. Dancing gophers.
Over in the parking lot. All right, powerful people, we are here because Amy Klobuchar is our senior senator, and she has the right, the moral obligation, and the duty to us, her constituents, to Minnesotans, to our land and water, to our treaty rights, our treaty agreements.
How is everybody? Are you hot? Does this heat scare you? It scares me because this is climate change. I cry about it. We all should be crying about it. Amy should be crying about it. And we've got work to do. That's why we're here. That's why I hang out with Take Action. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story. Growing up surrounded by a huge freshwater marsh instilled a deep regard for water. The well water on the family farm was a point of pride. With layers of limestone just below the surface, the water was naturally filtered, making it clean, refreshing, and sustaining for the people and the animals in that region. As I relearned history, I became aware that people had loved that land and loved that water long before my family was there. The land was not deeded directly from the U.S. government, as I was taught, but it was stolen from Native people, from Potawatomi, from Ho-Chunk, Menominee, and that injustice brought it to my family. We cared deeply for that land and for that water. We never went all in on the chemical farming. My brother is still there and been certified organic for 20 years. But the injustice continues. The mistreatment of wetlands, rivers, and Native people continues through pipeline projects like the Dakota Access Pipeline, Line 5 across northern Wisconsin into Michigan, and Line 3. But no longer through the Keystone XL!
Stop Line 3 intertwines issues of climate change, land abuse, racism, and I feel called to act on behalf of future generations, to transition away from fossil fuels, to follow Native leaders, and to unite with the next generation of activists in order to protect the water. I love being here with you all. The first time I heard the Lakota Yape phrase, Mini Winchoni, I felt its power. Water is life. Old school can blow away. I felt the power of water at the Treaty People gathering at the headwaters of the Great Mississippi River on Monday. Love and water brought people together to be in solidarity with Native peoples to stop Line 3. And I learned some things. We are all treaty people. The treaties allowed my ancestors and now me and my descendants to be here on Native land. I have a responsibility to those treaties to make sure that they are not broken. We all do. I learned that there are multiple genders recognized in Native languages, and that making room for everybody makes room for everybody. Love that. I learned the importance of connection. Almost 3,000 good people came together to take action. Noteworthy after this forced separation because of the pandemic. And when there were straight line winds on Monday night and I was alone in that little tiny tent, I noticed how relieved I was to make it to the sheltering bathroom to the other people. Like, we really need each other. We need each other to feel safe. We need each other to fight. Any first timers out here? Is this your first protest? Recent joiners to the movement? I learned that there is not time to wait until we can all do this the right way. We have to act now. We get to make mistakes. We'll try again, and we will have wins. Yeah! Just today, one more insurance company said, no way, they're not going to insure building a pipeline. We win! We have a new camp right at the headwaters of the Mississippi, Camp LaSalle, Camp Firelight. It's a win. And it's a win that we are here. Mini Winchoni, water is life. Mini Winchoni.